Board. Okay, so a big welcome to an introduction to human design. In today's masterclass, we are going to be going through the following things. We're going to be looking at what human design is and, pardon, what human design can actually help you with in your life. Because I think a lot of people are like, cool, this is amazing, and I've gotten to learn about myself, but now how do I implement it going forward? We're going to look at the 5 different modalities it blends together, why your birth information is so important with regards to the neutrinos. We'll then look at exactly how to read your chart. I'll take you through what each of the different elements are, etc. And then we'll look at the 5 energy types, your authority. I've also added in a little bit of a bonus section where we'll look at a connection chart. So I know you guys were super interested in finding out how certain energy types work with other energy types. So I'll show you that, and you'll be able to see quite clearly that whole connection chart, quite literally the connections. And we've got some really exciting things, as always, to be announced at the end. Hint, hint, it's the winners. And I know you guys are all here for that. So I'm starting today off with a quote by Karen Carey Parker. For those who may not know who she is such a queen at everything human design. She has actually taken the human design system and she's created or like evolved it to something known as now quantum human design. So if you ever come across quantum human design, it is different to the traditional human design. And essentially, Karen Carey Parker really believes in what I always preach and practice too, which is your words hold frequency. And what you will notice, and this is why a lot of people feel very overwhelmed by the traditional human design system, especially when they first come across it, is that the language is really heavy. And because the language is really heavy, like I know I'm a 3-5 profile line, so it's the martyr heretic, and that just sounds terrible. So she's taken the language of human design and she's evolved it to something a lot more light and expansive and easier to understand, although she can go very deep and get very technical. So before you can begin to leverage your creative power, you have to first know who you are, how you operate, what you're here to do, and how your energy is influenced by others. So I really, really love that quote. And just on that, we're going to talk a lot about creation in this masterclass. Now, creativity is not necessarily painting a picture, doing some artwork. Creation in this instance is more about the work that you're here to do, your fulfillment. So even in doing this masterclass, this is my creation that I'm birthing into the world at this moment in time. It could even be that you have birthed numbers and creation around that into your life at this time. So creation is really taking inspiration and turning it into form. So I really just want to make sure that that concept is also understood. Now we've got over 200 new members in our group since December last year. So I just want to give a quick little introduction into who I am, why I can talk about the stuff that I'm talking about today, because we've got so many beautiful new heroes in this group, which I am so excited about. So I'm a mindset, manifestation, and human design coach. My specialties are more in mindset and manifestation. However, last year I did my human design reader training, and I really have intertwined and weaved it through everything, because using your human design in such a way can have a massive impact in how you become a more potent and powerful manifester. So human design has really helped me in my life, and I'll talk about a couple of stories tonight. But essentially what I do is I blend modern day science, which is all the NLP stuff and concepts from neuroscience and all of those fun things, blended together with ancient wisdom, which is the universal laws and the understanding of quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and I empower you to live your dream life. And I truly believe that everybody has the potential to live their dream life. I have so many clients that have done it, and I know that, hopefully through these masterclasses, and if you choose to one day do a paid for program, you'll be able to gain that knowledge too and drastically alter and change the course and direction of your life. I'm also a wife. I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I recently immigrated to Dublin. I'm back in South Africa for the next month. So I'm also doing a lot of traveling and hope to travel quite a bit this year, which I'm very, very excited about. So what has human design done for me? Firstly, it's helped me become a more powerful manifester. So I truly understand how to live in what we will talk about, which is my strategy. I use it to make decisions nowadays. I have used it so much more in my business in terms of how we launch, how we create more success. And the results are starting to really show from me living more in my design. I'm not feeling as frustrated, and I'm allowing myself to feel a lot more satisfied and have a lot more joy in everything and every area of my life. Okay. It's also helped me to understand my relationship dynamics with my husband. So him and I often look at our charts together, and we've also had a connection chart read by one of our team members, which is Lauren, and I'll be bringing up Lauren's name quite a bit. So for those that don't know, we do have an in-house human design specialist. Her name is Lauren. She is absolutely incredible at human design. She teaches me so much about human design on a daily basis. She's a 1-3 projector with gate 48, so she's super detailed, and she wants to know everything and how everything works, whereas I sometimes feel like I get the overall gist of it, and then I don't really go into the depths of things. So that's my gate 16 for those that do know a lot about human design. And that's why I love the dynamic that we have within our team as well, because we're constantly looking at how we can adapt our readings to being more beneficial for you guys. And we really do put and invest a lot into our knowledge with human design, because human design is so extensive. It really is. It's so extensive. Human design has also helped me with my health. I've really started to understand how I digest information and even food. And because I'm honoring that more, my health has improved. And it's just an all-around incredible system. Human design can show you, I mean, we could go and just talk about human design and health, human design and manifestation, human design and business, human design, and even just like getting specific in business launching. And I kind of shared that with my Master Your Magic students last night. But it really is the most incredible system. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited to bring this to you today. So I know you guys are always excited about the prizes. So today is just like every other masterclass we do, except the prizes are getting bigger, which is really exciting. So to 2 lucky people that have been the most engaged, as well as invited the most people into this group, you are going to be winning yourselves a free membership, a free month's membership into our Master Your Magic membership. And this is a group of entrepreneurs who are wanting to master manifestation and the business energetics in order to create wildly successful businesses. We've also got an exciting announcement about that, where we have decided that we want so many more people to join. So you can join that membership for $22 a month, which is amazing. And everyone's keep saying to me, they're like, but Kai, I would happily still pay the $111 because you give so much. So that's very exciting. You will get a 60-minute human design chart reading session with me, where you can ask any questions and we'll go more in depth into your chart specifically. You will get a spot into our next masterclass. Now, I'm very excited for this because it's happening next week, and you guys are going to be the first to know because you're in the manifestation community, and we'll have an opportunity to register for the early bird special up until Tuesday. So look out for that coming this weekend, because it's going to be a magical masterclass. And because it's paid, you know you're going to get even more value than what you'll even get from today. You'll get a spot on the manifestation bundle, which is the 21-day Unleashed Manifesto Challenge, Ho'oponopono, as well as, forgetting one, the 12 Universal Laws. And you'll also get a copy of the Vision by Design ebooks and some other goodies, which are a little bit of a bonus for the end of this. So very, very excited. Let's begin. Don't know where my picture's gone. That's strange. Oh, well. Okay, so what is human design? Let's start here, because I think for a lot of people, they look at their chart, and if you are anything like I was when I first discovered the system, I was like, no, I'm closing this down. It's way too much. It's too overwhelming. There's just numbers and lines and stuff everywhere, and I don't even know where to start, right? So let's break it down into what it is. Essentially for me, and this is how I've interpreted it, is that it's your soul's blueprints. Now, you know, I kind of always like to use this metaphor. If we're in a game of life and our journey is to go through this maze to find the treasure at the end, you are going to go through challenges. You're going to possibly take the wrong turn, then get back onto track. And inevitably you will find the treasure at the end of the road. Even if you don't have a map, you'll find it. But if I plopped you in the middle of the maze and said, hey, I can give you two options here. Either A, you can do it alone, you can go on this amazing journey. It might take you a bit longer, but you'll eventually get there. Or B, you can still go on this amazing adventure. You'll still grow and have these challenges, but I'm going to give you a bit of a map. I'm going to give you a bit of a guideline as to how you can get to the treasure faster. You'll probably go with option B, right? And that's what human design helps us do. So I know that if you are in this masterclass, you are here for a very specific reason, and this information has found you because it wants to find you. And there is no such thing as coincidence. There's only things that coincide. And for that reason, you are here for that very particular reason, and you're meant to go on your journey of experimenting with your design. The reason I personally love human design so much is that it's not supposed to box you in. It is supposed to really just allow you and give you permission to live as your highest self, to really expand into the person you're meant to be in this lifetime. And it kind of, again, just gives you that roadmap as to how you can do that. You will notice tonight that I'm going to give you a lot of information, and yet it's still just scratching the surface, because human design has over 3 billion different combinations, which means that your chart is going to be unlike anybody else's. So yes, we're going to talk about like general things tonight, which is your energy type, your authority, your self-theme versus your not self-theme, how to live more in your strategy and in alignment with your soul's purpose. But essentially, your chart goes so deep. I still sit with my chart and I still have mind-blowing moments with it because I'm still learning about it. And every time I revisit my chart, I literally unlock another piece of data that I didn't have before. And I'm like, oh my word, that's so mind-blowing. This is why I do this. This is why I do that. Wow, that's incredible. So it really, really, really does help us just live more in alignment, in authenticity with ourselves. And when we are living in alignment and when we are truly living in authenticity with ourselves, the energy just allows like so much abundance to flow to us. And that's why if you are living in accordance to your design and you're not living in your not self theme, which we'll talk about, when you're living in your highest expression, you become a bigger energetic container, a vibrational match to your desires. And that's when things just magnetically are attracted to you. And that is why I love this information. Okay, so it talks about how we are wired. It's literally your circuitry, right? If you look at it, it kind of looks like a circuit board, and it is your wiring to how you can achieve abundance, love, and prosperity. And I'll maybe talk a little bit about the gene keys tonight, like very, very briefly, because that's like another level or layer of human design, I guess. And with human design, I want you to know right now that you actually have all of the charts, because what happens is, and I'll talk about this when we talk about the neutrinos and the planets, is that we've constantly got energy moving. And there are going to be some days where certain gates that are undefined are actually defined, and you have that energy for that day, but it's not consistent. So we just have a difference in terms of what we have consistent access to versus what we have inconsistent access to, which is where we're here to become wise about things. So I want you to know that, nowhere in your chart is there anything that says you're here to suffer, that you're here to be poor, that you're here to be ill or sick. Everything in your chart just shows you how to live in perfect health, in high abundance. And, some people come to me and they're like, oh, but I don't have the money line, so then I can't be wealthy. No, you're here to be wealthy, successful, and abundant, and whatever it is that you want to be. Your chart just shows you how you get to access that information. Okay. So I just want to pop up very quickly. You guys won't see this. I just want to see if there are any questions. I can't see the questions, so hopefully everything is still working. Okay, there we go. It is still working. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll get into birth location and all of that. Okay, cool. So your screen is paused, resume share. I just want to, okay. We'll get into the birth times and all of that. looking forward to all these questions. I see lots are coming through, which is very exciting. So human design combines 5 different modalities together, and that's what also makes us super exciting. So we've got the Kabbalah, which is from Judaism. We've got the Hindu chakra system. We've got the Chinese I Ching system. And what I'm particularly fascinated in is how each number, so you'll look at your chart and you've got numbers all over the place. I'll go through that. But each number actually directly correlates to one of the 64 strands of DNA that you have. So your gates are directly linked to your codons of DNA, and you can start to shift and alter your DNA through the work that you can do internally. It's mind-blowing. I actually interviewed a past Anisha Hero client today where we did a lot of generational and epigenetic healing, and it literally started shifting family patterns in her life. It was the most unbelievable thing. It combines astrology, and that's the things you see on the black and the red column. And then we've got quantum physics. Okay, so these all combined together require a couple of bits of things that you need, which is your birth date, your birth time, your birth location. Okay, now how important is it to have your birth time? I get this question often, and most people do. It's because of the neutrinos, which I think I'm explaining now. Yes, okay. So essentially, in quantum physics, well, in physics, like I'm sure in science, you learned about atoms, right? And you've got protons and neutrons and electrons that make up your atom. And those protons, neutrons, electrons are called subatomic particles. Now, inside that, you have even more subatomic particles, if that's even a thing. And that is called a neutrino. So this is where the quantum physics comes in, right? Now, neutrinos are floating in the atmosphere and they hold a lot of intelligence. And at the time of your birth, they infuse you with this information, and that is how we get our blueprints of our soul, okay? Now, how I like to explain this in a metaphor, which is a bit simpler. If I'm in a white car and you guys are in a red car and we're driving along and poof, we clash into each other, because that's what the energy does. It clashes into the baby at the time of birth. I'm going to end up with some red paint on my car and you're going to end up with some white paint on your car. So that's kind of the effect that happens. Now, where neutrinos come from is from the supernova effect, is when, stars basically burst into different pieces. This is probably not the most scientific information, so I'm just trying to make it really simple, but it comes from the supernova effect. So essentially, what I like to say, which is what I've learned from Karen Curry Parker, is that we are all born of stardust, and you are a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event, because even if you do have exactly the same chart as somebody else, you're going to have different life experiences, different things that happen in your life that allow you to be who you are today. Okay, so there is nobody like you. There will never be anybody ever again like you, and there has never been a person like you. And that is something that I really want you to honor, is that you are so unique. Everybody is so, so unique, and this is what the system promotes. And that is, again, why I absolutely love this system. Okay, now the reason we like the birth time to be as accurate as possible is because the neutrinos change quite quickly. So the neutrinos can change like by second, they can change minute by minute, or they can change by the days. And I have done charts personally, like if I change my birth time by like a minute or two, a lot of my data actually changes, not the chart necessarily. So you'll probably still find that you're the same energy type, you'll still have the same authority, you'll probably even still have the same gates and stuff, but it's more when it comes to the variables, and that's the arrows that you might see like by your head on your chart. Those will change and alter quite drastically with time differences. So that's quite important to know, especially if you're going to go into like a deep dive reading. Okay. Now, if you do not know your time of birth, there are a couple of ways that you can start to assess this. So one is to get really clued up on human design and actually start pulling out different charts and seeing which one resonates with you, because you will know what really resonates with you and what doesn't. You could also get an intuitive reader. So I have done this before for some of my clients. I've had clients that have been adopted, clients that have never been able to receive their birth certificates, things like that. And I've been able to intuitively get a time, and we've spoken about it, this, like especially with a client that you know, she was adopted. She also went on to do her human design reader training, and it was really beautiful because she could really understand the system and was like, yes, actually that does resonate with me. No, that doesn't resonate with me. And what I do want to say though, is that if you're very new on your personal development journey, you might come across information in the very beginning that really does not resonate with you. And you're like, what the load of crap is this going to talk about? Like, this is not me at all. And that's because we've been deeply conditioned generally by society, by ourselves, by family, limiting beliefs, all of those things. And because we're so deeply conditioned, we believe a certain construct of who we think we are. But until we start deconstructing that and actually finding out who we genuinely are, we sometimes don't resonate with the information at first. So that's also something that I just want to kind of highlight or illuminate, is that if you feel that your chart really doesn't resonate with you, ask yourself where you may have been conditioned. And, that's something that we talk about a lot in Anisha Hero and understand a lot in Anisha Hero is the deconditioning process. I'm not going to go too much into that because but basically, human design is a beautiful system it is today, and it was downloaded by the founder of it, and his name was Ra Uhuru Hu. And Ra always used to say that it takes about 2 years to just embody your energy type and your strategy and your authority, and those are the 3 most important things, which we'll talk about today. And then it takes about 7 years to decondition. But in saying that, and that's because of, I think it's Uranus or Venus, it's one of the planets that kind of govern that. Astrology is actually not my strongest point. So on the astrology side, I'm a little bit like, I have to have crib notes on the astrology sort of things. But there's other areas that I love diving into in the human design chart, and that's your circuitry. It's whether you've got more tribal, individual, collective, all of those kinds of things. That's where I really love to look at your human design chart. But with conditioning and deconditioning, sometimes you will have done so much work that you just kind of look at one of your things and, oh my gosh, you unlock it and you have deconditioned in that moment because of other events that you would have done. So some things you can decondition from in a moment, and and that's like breaking through a limiting belief. And other things may take you longer, and that's okay. And I just want you to know, wherever you are in your journey, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been on this road for like many, many years, you're exactly where you're meant to be, and you're finding this information at the perfect time for you. Okay, so perfect time for you. And again, so happy that you're here in this masterclass. So let's just talk about the energy types, because the energy types are what you're going to need to know about most. So there are 3 things in human design that you need to know more so than anything else before you go diving into the gates and the channels and the planets and the lines and everything. And that is your energy type. You first have to follow your energy type strategy. Once you learn how to follow the strategy, then you can start to also make sure that you're constantly moving from your not self theme into your self theme. So in human design, we constantly talk about lower and higher expression. So your lower expression is when you're in your shadow elements of that part of your design. And your highest expression is when your higher self is coming in. You've learned lessons, you've transmuted energy, and you've really gotten yourself out of the shadow element into the highest expression of your human design chart. Okay, so those are the first 2 things. Then you start to trust your authority, and your authority will guide and lead you in decisions. If you are not doing those 3 things up front at the beginning, you are not going to be able to really get the most out of like your cognition or your environment or your gates, because you have to follow your strategy always. If you follow your strategy, the rest will fall into place, I can guarantee you. So it's really, really important for that. So this is how the whole system kind of works in a symbiosis, which I think is really beautiful. And I want you to really honor that, is that no matter which type you are, you have a very specific purpose in this lifetime to be that energy type. Because if you are not living in your design, other people can't live in theirs. So just by you living in your design, you are giving other people things to live in their design with. Okay, so I'm going to start off with manifestors, because we generally talk about manifestors first. They are basically who we've all been conditioned to be in this lifetime. And it's quite funny because manifestors get conditioned to not be manifestors, which is quite ironic. But manifestors make up about 7 to 9% of the population. They are super rare. And manifestors are very powerful energy beings, okay? Well, I actually can't say energy beings technically with them, because what makes manifestors a manifestor is that they do not have a defined sacral, which means that their energy comes from their throat center connected to a motor center. Okay, that's how you determine who a manifestor is. If you don't understand that, don't worry. Just take what you can from what I'm going to explain about the manifestor energy. So the manifestor energy is very much like, I always think of, and Lauren and I talk about this often because she's got 2 little kitties. They love, well, Kenzie, her little daughter, loves Frozen, and they often play Frozen. And Elsa is actually a really good example of a manifestor. She speaks about what she's going to do and she just does it. The manifestor does not need to ask for permission, but your strategy as a manifestor is to inform and initiate, okay? So because your strategy is to, you kind of, manifestors are here, they guide and lead the, well, not guide, they download divine inspiration, because manifestors do have a very natural connection to source, God, the universe, whatever term you use. And they, because of their great connection to the divine, they download ideas and they go for it. That's what happens with them. And they're very, very fast. So a lot of the other people around them cannot keep up. And this is when they are in their creative flow, they have almost a repelling aura. They have such a laser focus on their end goal that they push others away just to get through, and they kind of like move any obstacle out the way to get to their end goal. Now, with a manifestor, your strategy, if you are a manifestor, is to inform and then initiate, okay? So what it means is that you're going to have a circle of close friends, family members, etc. And when one of them bumps into the way and starts saying, oh, well, I don't know what you're doing. Like, why didn't you tell me? You're going to get really angry because they've stopped your creative flow. So to not become angry, you need to really inform those around you of what you're doing. Hey guys, I'm going to be working on something. Please don't disturb me until I come out of my room, because I've received this really cool idea and I just want to play it out and see how it works for me. Please don't disturb me. And it's never about asking permission. So if you do have a manifestor as a child, they're going to be like, Mom, I'm going to the beach. And you're going to be like, no, you're not. You can't just do that. But that's actually how they are. And that's how they're meant to be. So a manifestor kind of needs to be told like, okay, cool. Yes, you definitely can. But how about, can we maybe go at this time? Especially if you have a kid that's a manifestor, because a manifestor generally grows up feeling like they have to dim their light, because society has always told them like, you're too much for people, you need to dim your light to fit in. And they grow up feeling like they can't express themselves. And that's actually their superpower, is that motor center connected to their throat center. And they really are here to express things out into creation. And it's such a beautiful energy. So manifestors are not here to ask permission. They're here to inform and then do. And as a manifestor, it's really important to get back into the habit of informing, because for most of manifestors, and I'm working with a lot of manifestors at the moment, which is really exciting, but for most manifestors, their spirit has been dampened. So they can do things like waking up in the morning being, oh, I'm waking up now, I'm making my coffee now, I'm doing this now, I'm doing that now. And if you have a partner and they hear, oh, I'm making coffee now, they can be like, oh, can I also have coffee? Because when we get into like the money generator and projector strategy, they have to wait for an invitation or respond to something. So if you're saying, okay, I'm making coffee right now, then all of a sudden the generator, manifesting generator or projector is like, oh, that's my invite. I want coffee too, or I want coffee too. And that's when you can actually start to see those energies working really well together. So it is important for a manifestor to express their truth. And if a manifestor is not expressing their truth, their spirit can become very dampened. And that's actually where we start seeing a lot of health issues creep up. Your throat center, especially in human design, is all about your thyroid. Your thyroid is in charge of so many systems in your body, including autoimmune diseases. And I've often read a lot of charts, you know, where people have had an autoimmune disease, and I can see it because their throat center is in the lower expression. They're in the shadow of themselves, and they don't know how to express themselves. And expressing yourself is not just about the words you say, it's about the actions you take, the intentions that you set, and that all needs to be in alignment. Okay. So we then move into, the manifestors in the situation are the playwriters. They've got this idea for this play, they've written it out, and now they kind of like, they've left it for the rest of the energy types to kind of fulfill. So we've now got the generators and Mani-Janes that are the actors, the equipment, they're the working parts to make this play come alive. And generators and Mani-Janes are the only energy types, and this is where we can call them energy beings, that have what we call a defined sacral center. Now, your sacral center is in charge of your life force energy, your sexual energy even, and anybody that was in our Master Your Magic masterclass last night will probably be giggling at what I told them to do to get that energy back up. But essentially that energy it's a very powerful energy. So we have, and I'm a generator, so when I say we, it's because I am a generator, but we have very powerful open and enveloping auras. So when we get really lit up about something, which is why I love going live, because you guys can feel my energy generally through the screen, and it's a very inviting aura because I'm lit up about what I'm speaking about. I love doing this stuff. Like, it just sets my soul on fire. And because I'm doing that, I move into my self-theme, which is satisfaction. But we're going to talk about that just now. Okay, so generators and Mani-Janes are here to kind of be the workforce of society. That does not mean, and please do not take things literally here, that does not mean that you have to work 24/7. That does not mean that you have to burn yourself out. Burnout is the number one reason why you're probably not actually receiving your manifestations. It's just that you have the life force energy. And it's really important to use your energy wisely. If you do not exert your energy every single day, you will not be able to sleep at night, and sleep is vitally important. So you really have to use your energy very, very wisely. Okay. With the difference between generators and manifesting generators. So generators are here to become masters of their work, whereas a manifesting generator is kind of like a time bender. All of my Mani-Janes, I can guarantee you right now, are probably sitting watching this masterclass and doing something else. Because you're multi-passionate, you are the energy that you are the fastest of all the energy types. You are a lightning fast being. People barely keep up with you, and you get impatient when people don't keep up with you. And you also have this ability to kind of like skip steps. And that's where you time bend and time warp things, because you become, you kind of go down like, let's just say we're cars, right? I'm a generator, you're a Mani-Jane. I'm going to plod along. You're going to go all the different pathways, everything, skip a couple of different roads, but we're going to get to the end point kind of at the same time. You would have done it quite quickly, but you would have gone down different avenues and explored different things. Whereas a generator, we're a little bit more methodical and we kind of just plod along. And not in a bad way, not in a bad way. I actually love being a generator. So when I first found out that I was a generator, it's like, oh man, I'm like such a boring type, because generators make up about 35% of the population, Mani-Janes about 30% of the population. So this is why in society and in life, everything is designed for 70% of people to thrive, right? Schooling systems, the way we work, the way everything happens is actually designed for a generator and manifesting generator, because that's what society just thinks everyone is. And it's like, well, if we've got a 70% rate of like excellence, then it must work, right? But this will hopefully show you that we really are all very different. And this is, you know, schooling systems, you can see so much in human design why certain energy types need a different way of learning. Not everybody is there to sit and write notes and learn things parrot fashion. So yeah, Mani-Janes are the multi-passionate energy, and you are a bit of a blend between generators and manifestors. Now, with a Mani-Jane, in a human design reading, you can start to find out if you're more manifesting generator or generator Mani-Jane. And that will help you to also see what your strategy is. But essentially, your strategy as a generator is to respond. Your strategy as a Mani-Jane is to respond, then inform, and then take action. So what does it mean to respond? this is why I love doing lives. Firstly, I'm responding to your energy. Everybody in this group has kind of at some point hinted that they really want this masterclass, right? So I'm responding to your requests by now creating this masterclass. Not only that, I'm going to have a bit of a Q&A session at the end of this. And that's what also really lights me up, because then I've got questions to respond to. And I always say to people, please ask me questions, because if I don't get questions, I can't live in my strategy. And that's me inviting the projectors to ask the questions. Mani-gens also, you need to respond to something. You don't really initiate. So that's where the difference is. Manifestors can initiate. Mani-gens, you still need to respond to something. Then you need to inform people, and then you can take initiation. So that's where the difference is with a Mani-gen strategy. And I hope that that makes sense. Okay. We then move into projectors, and projectors are the directors. Now, they are really here to guide and lead the collective going forward. And projectors, I always love them because they're probably sitting back and they're like, oh my gosh, if all these generators and Mani-gens just turned right, they would miss all of that traffic and they would get to their destination sooner. But nope, they're going to be stubborn and they're not going to ask me for my advice. So I'm just going to sit here and watch them all doing stupid stuff. So the projectors really are the directors of society. And projectors are generally really good with systems and seeing things from a very different perspective, to really help guide and lead people. Okay. And projectors are kind of like the midwives of the universe, where it's you're here to organize. Now, projectors don't have sacral energy as well. So manifestors, because you have your voice box definitely connected to a motorized center, you will definitely have an energy center that is giving you energy. Some projectors, and not all projectors have there's the most different types of projectors you can get. With generators and Mani-gens, you get two types, sacral or pure. Well, that's the same thing. Sacral or emotional. Manifestors, you get, I think, 3 different types, and projectors, you get like so many different types, and reflectors, you only get one type of reflector. So with projectors, if you've got motorized centers, you will gain some energy, but you're not designed in life to work in the traditional sense. You probably find that if you're in corporate, you feel really burnt out. You'll probably find that you work really, really well for like 2 to 4 hours a day, and then you kind of just want to be in your own space and energy. So you really are here to be the director and then get the Jennies and the Mani-gens to do the work for you. And that now a projector has to wait for the invitation. And I really want to go through this because it's probably the most confusing thing in human design, especially if you've just found out you're a projector and you're like, I don't know how to wait for an invitation. Does that just mean that I sit on my couch, hold back and wait for this invitation? No, it doesn't. A projector needs to constantly recognize themselves. Okay. So when you are recognizing yourself, because a projector will be able, you've got a very penetrating aura. So when you are around a projector, you will feel that they always like looking deeply into your soul. And projectors do that, but they can sometimes be very unaware of themselves. And the trick is to become aware of yourself again, to celebrate your achievements, to really recognize who you are and who you are being. Projectors are a little bit obsessive creatures by nature. So I know that there's going to be projectors here tonight that might be coming across this information for the first time. They are going to be the ones that will probably go away and do a lot more research and come back to me and be like, hi, I'm now doing my human design reader training because this was so interesting and I just loved it so much, because you want to know everything. Like projectors can be obsessive creatures by nature in like a good way. And because you are so knowledgeable, you really need to make sure that you're sharing your knowledge with the right people, because often you're like, I'm so knowledgeable, I just want to help. I can see these people are struggling, so I'm just going to like tell them about this, this, and this, and this, and this. And people don't hear you. So the projector thing becomes bitter. That's your not self thing, because you're not being honored for who you are being. The projector energy will feel very, very, like their spirits will be so dampened when they don't receive the invite. And because when they're not receiving the invite, they generally seem to talk up a little bit louder because they feel like they're not seen, heard, and understood. And the more they're speaking up, the more they're not being recognized. And then the more it's like just a very vicious cycle. So to counteract that, you first have to recognize yourself. And as a projector, a fun exercise you can try is you can go to a party and just keep quiet and just sit in the corner and be like, wow, I really know so much information about this. I really do this very well. Maybe I'm an excellent wife. Maybe I'm excellent at being a mom. Maybe I'm excellent at my job or whatever. And just start recognizing yourself. And I can guarantee you'll have so many people coming up to you and being like, oh, hey, I'm Kylie. Like, I want to know more about you. Like, tell me. And that's the invite. And the moment you've got the invite, people are really going to pay attention to what you have to say. Okay. So a projector has to feel successful. And we'll talk a little bit more about not self-themes and self-themes now. But once you start feeling really successful, that is when you're able to just create magic in your life and to manifest all the invitations. And how you start to prepare for the invitations is to start really working on your knowledge base. So let's just say, for example, you really wanted an invite to talk on a TED Talk. Start already preparing by starting your own podcast, talking about things that you love to talk about. Then maybe you'll be invited to be on another podcast, and then you'll be invited to be on at a presentation, and so on and so forth. So you can always do things today to already prepare for your bigger dreams. Projectors make up 20% of the population. So yeah, and by 2027, there's going to be a lot more projectors in the world, because you're here to really help guide and lead and heal the collective and the planet. Okay, so we now move into reflectors, the unicorns of the world, the 1% of people. And I'm very blessed to have worked with a couple of reflectors now. And it is a beautiful energy. So reflectors, and we'll talk about this now when we look at how to read your chart, they have a completely open chart. And they are sucking in everybody's energy, and they're kind of reflecting it back to the world. So they're kind of the audience of the play. So you're now doing the play, and if the audience is going, oh, that was really crap, then you know that the audience is like, oh, we need to maybe fix something here. If the audience feels like joyful and delightful, then you know that something is working. A reflector is governed by the moon. So it takes a reflector 28 days to make a decision, sometimes even 2 or 3 moon cycles. They are the ones that will definitely be, you know, I actually jumped on a call with somebody the other day, and she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, my mom actually told me that I always go a bit loopy around like the full moon, and that makes so much sense. And it's just that energy that I kind of always like to think of Lunar Lovegood from Harry Potter. They're generally very chatty people, because reflectors don't actually have body-based intelligence. So for a reflector to have like a gut or instinct or things like that most of us do have, they don't. And that's really, really interesting. So they have to talk about their decisions and their choices to their very closely curated circle of friends and trusted members of family. And then they will see their ideas or things reflected through the people around them back to them. And that's how they make their decisions. So they're very chatty, but they can have this very light, almost like airy energy to them. And they really are a person that just tries to look for the good in everything. And one of my really good friends is a reflector, and she really does, like, you can't talk to her about bad news, because that really dampens her spirit. Reflectors are very sensitive. So if people like are talking about, like, the news is not going to be good for a reflector. A reflector really needs to be in the healthiest environment. And what's really interesting about a reflector is that if a reflector's health is dwindling, we really need to look at their environment. And I know that obviously with the pandemic over the last 2 years, I've even done a health design chart for somebody who was a reflector, and they had latent TB. And that was because COVID was affecting our lungs. And it just made so much sense. It made so much sense as to why that reflector was feeling effects of their lungs, because that's the environment we were put into. So reflectors are so important for our community, because we all need a reflector in our community to see how our community is health-wise. A reflector will be happy and healthy if the community is doing well, and not so happy and healthy if the community is doing bad. Okay, so those are the energy types. I hope you guys learned something about your energy type. So let's go into how to read your chart now, because this is where we'll get to understanding a little bit more. Okay, so I'm actually going to stop the screen for a little bit. I just want to make sure. Can you see the open white chart? Oh, lots of comments, guys. This is amazing. I know, I also love Lunar Lovegood. I know we do have 3 reflectors in this community, but they probably So reflectors probably also won't come to an event like this because the energy is too much for them. And we're actually working on how to restructure Anisha Hero even just to incorporate some calls where, you know, we're not going to have as much energy because it's very overwhelming for them. It's very, very overwhelming for reflectors. So they probably won't be any events like this because even though it's still virtual, you can still pick up energy. And I know you guys can as well, just through the chat box and interacting and all of that. So again, reflector energy is a very sensitive energy. And we really need to look after our reflectors because they are so important, so important. So I really value the reflector that has done Anisha Hero because she is reflecting back to me the changes that need to be made. And I really value that. So it's amazing. Okay. Let's go back to resuming this. Okay, so this is our chart. Okay, now all these little shapes in the center are basically your chakra system. But what happened is I can't remember the date now. I'm really bad at dates. I think it was like the 1600s or something. Basically, there was a huge evolutionary change and we had two different chakras split into two. So the heart chakra split into the G center, which is this chakra, and the ego center, which is this chakra. Well, center. In human design, we call them centers, not chakras. Okay. We also then had our roots, sacral, solar plexus, our solar plexus chakra split into two centers, which is now known as the spleen center and the emotional solar plexus center. Okay. So that is why we've got a 9-centered being in human design and why the Hindu chakra system still works off of the 7. They basically really do correlate with one another, and it's very, very interesting. You'll also see if you are, especially if you have Judaism as a background, you'll see that this kind of looks like the upside down tree of life, which is the Kabbalah. And then all the numbers are the Chinese I Ching system. Okay. I should probably open up another chart, but basically you'll probably also, I'm just going to go back to here. All of these things on the side are your planets and where your gates, so wherever these numbers are sitting in a different planet. Okay. So how do we start to read our chart? Our first thing is to figure out what our energy type is. Okay, so we've spoken about that already. Your chart will tell you what energy type it is. I'm not going to tell you how to figure out like who's a manifestor, who's a reflector, because this is not a reader training. And if you give me a chart like without the information, I'll be able to tell you, but we're not going to get into that because that goes into like another whole section of work. But your first thing is to understand your energy type. You're then going to look at your authority. And we'll get into the different authorities, but that is based on the different centers, okay? Even how your centers are wired together will show you what energy type you are. So those are the first two things. Then we're going to start looking at your centers, okay? This is your head center. Your head center is in charge of downloading ideas, getting different ideas, and you can live in the shadow or the highest expression, whether it is defined or undefined. So let's talk about definition versus non-defined. If I had to unclick this, this is a completely undefined chart because nothing is defined in this chart. It's all open, which means you'll never get a chart like this, just by the way, because you will always have gates defined. So if your centers are white, they are undefined. If they are colored in, it means they are defined. If your gate has no like little dot on it, it means that it is undefined. If it has a dot on it, it means it is defined. Basically what that means is undefined means that you are going to experience wisdom through that gate, that center, that channel. Defined means that you are going to have consistent access to what that energy will bring you. Okay, that's all that means. Now, if you have a gate there and there, that creates a channel. And the moment you have a channel, you actually have a defined center. This is why reflectors do not have any channels, because they do not have any channel. They don't have any defined centers because they don't have any channels. Okay, so that is the human design terminology. I'm just going to unclick this. But let's go through the sensors. Okay, so head center is all about downloading inspiration, downloading ideas. You've then got your Ajna center, which is all about conceptualizing and making ideas concrete. Your throat center is all about expression. This is also an imperative part of manifestation, is your throat center. You've got your identity center. This is also sometimes known as your G center. You've then got your ego center, which is also known as your will center or your heart center. You've then got your spleen center. Oh, sorry, I'm not even describing what they have in them. Hold on, let me go back. So your G center is all about where you're going and who you are in this lifetime. And this is actually, when you've got this working so beautifully, it's called your magnetic monopole. And it basically talks about the mechanics of manifestation of you attract who you are being is also one of the things. And you can start to look into the center for who you are being. And if you have all of these energies working really well together, you can become a powerful magnetic monopole and manifest your desires almost instantaneously. Your ego center is where, like, if you have a defined ego center, you'll probably be driven by material wealth. Only 30% of the population does have a defined ego center. I'm one of those people, which is why I love talking about money and wealth creation. It is also the center, like, if you have a desire just all of a sudden placed on your heart, you're going to be like, wow, I don't know why, but I just need to follow this. Your spleen is in charge of immunity, of health, your fears. So if you think about it, your fears, like your flight and fight responses, would be very much in charge of your intuition as well. So if you're in a bush, you can sense something that it might be like stalking you, chasing you. That will tell you, like, if you need to run, your flight, fight, and freeze, if you need to hide. So that is your spleen. It's quite animalistic in its ways. And your immunity is housed there, your fears are housed there. So each different gate will show you what kind of fear you may have, whether it's the fear of inadequacy, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of the past, the fear of the future, all sorts of things that center can tell you. The sacral center, very important in human design. This center, so this is the center I was telling you, if you've got this defined, you are 100% a manifesting generator or generator. No question about it. If you have this undefined, you are known as a non-energy being, and you are either a manifestor, projector, or reflector. Your sacral center is in charge of your sexual energy, your creative energy, and it's a really, really powerful center, Your emotional center. So 50% of the population has this defined, which means 50% of people will actually have this as their authority. I have this defined. I am an emotional authority, and basically it is in charge of all the emotions. And how I like to describe the center is, I don't know if you guys have watched Tangled, but if you haven't, just go watch a scene from Tangled where she finally gets out of her castle, because she's Rapunzel. She's been locked up in this tower, and she gets out of her castle with her Prince Charming. And basically she's running around going, this is the best thing ever. Oh my God, mother's going to kill me. This is amazing. Oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. This is incredible. And that is the emotional center. That is how it works. It's highs and lows. And when I first discovered human design, you know, I'd been in a corporate job before where a HR manager had pulled me in and said, well, you've got bipolar. And I was like, why do you say that? And it was like quite a hurtful experience to me. And she's like, because you've got these massive highs and these massive lows, and don't you know what bipolar is? And it was a whole spiel. But essentially, when I discovered that I have an emotional authority, I understood why people would view me as being bipolar, yet I'm not bipolar. So I just want to make that very clear. I've also got this fun little gate over here, gate 15, which is the gate of extremes. It's also a beautiful gate because it gives you your love for humanity. But the gate of extremes really amplifies this emotional energy, which is extremely high highs and extremely low lows. Okay, so it just amplifies everything. So it really gave me permission to be the way I am. And that's why I love, again, human design, because when you discover your human design, you're going to be like, oh, but I knew this. And it's kind of just like your permission slip to be exactly how you have always known you were or wanted to be. You've then got your root center, which is also a pressure center. So your head center and your root center are pressure centers. And essentially, this is your time management sensor. So I always look at your root center when we go into morning routines or evening routines, time management in general, and it's very much adrenal energy. This is where your adrenal sits. So we also look at this energy center if you have adrenal burnout or burnout in general, and we look at how you might be living in the lower expressions of the gates in the center so that you can move into the higher expression of them to not be burnt out. Okay, so that's how you start to read your chart. You first look at the centers. Then I'm not going to even touch on gates because gates can go very deep. You get a lot of information in gates. But I just want to show you kind of like the cool things that you can do, and hopefully my internet connection works, and how deep you can go with human design. Okay. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm just going to check on any comments that might be happening. Okay, what is the emotional one called? It's a solar plexus. It's a solar plexus center. Okay. Guys, my battery's about to die and I have it plugged in. Just give me a second. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, cool. So I'm going to resume share. Okay, this is actually not my chart, just so that you know. It was just a chart that I pulled, and I pulled it too quickly, didn't have the right data. So yeah, in another planet or world, I'm actually a projector. Okay, so with your human design, what you can do is, and for this, you're going to need to go onto my body graph to get this for free. I have a paid for software, and this is why I can pull up all these charts in one kind of software. Essentially, I've done so much research on all the different softwares and different places you can pull your charts from that I know where to direct and lead you guys to get certain information for free that you don't need to pay for that information. Okay, so if you want to get a chart like this, you can go to your mybodygraph.com. Kai's going to put up the link for you. And this is what we call a quantum mandala. Some people call it the rave mandala. And essentially, this starts to show you everything that's in your human design chart. Okay, so you've got 4 different quadrants. Then we get into the star signs. We've then got these little things on the side here. These are called your trigrams. This is also part of the Chinese I Ching system. And this will also show you what line your gate is in and what planet it's in and all sorts of things. And that's where you start to get like into like a lot of detail. I'm not going to go into that much detail because it gets very overwhelming. Just want to show you guys how far you can go. And if you do join Unleash Your Hero, which is coming in February, you will actually learn how to do all of this. And this is now your gene keys. And your gene keys works on a beautiful, beautiful system where you actually start to learn what your purpose is. Once you've unlocked your purpose, you go through your Venus. So your first sequence is the prosperity sequence. You then go into your Venus sequence, which is your love sequence, and it talks to you about relationships, not just in a romantic sense, friendships, yourself, your parents, all of those things. And then you unlock your Pearl sequence, which is all about abundance and your prosperity. Okay, so with gene keys, one of the things that I love to look at, which will help you with gates, is that your gene keys will have your city, which is the essence of your gate, and you will have a gift, and you will have the shadow. And you can literally start to pull up shadow charts with human design. You can start to pull up, you can start to see where you will have been conditioned. You will start to understand where different things have happened in your life, why they may have happened. But again, it's not going to tell you like on this date, this situation is going to happen, but it will maybe start to explain like why certain things have been the way they have in your life. Okay, so human design goes very deep. Okay, a lot of people have asked about the 2 columns on the side. This will show you, the columns on the side show you where your gate is sitting in which planet and which line. So remember, I showed you the little things on the side, which is the trigram. That is like, so my gate 37, which is in my conscious sun, is with a line 3, and my 3-5 is actually my profile. And essentially, you can then start to put together the whole story. So your sun is where you're meant to shine light in this world. Your earth is where you're grounded. And these 4 signs over here form what we call your Incarnation Cross. And your Incarnation Cross helps guide and lead you to your purpose. So I cannot go through all 192 Incarnation Crosses in this session. And that is where human design reading, if you did want to know that information, would be very, very beneficial to you. Okay, so yeah, we've got all these different planets. It's really interesting because when people work with me one-on-one, we actually look at these planets, how they're meant to communicate in their business, how they're meant to do certain things. Also things like Saturn returns, you can start to understand. You can start to see where different planets will be at different stages of your life, which will also create certain lessons or teachings for you. So it really is the most phenomenal system, and it gets even deeper than that, but I'm not going to overwhelm you. Right now, what you need to do is see what your energy type is, see what centers are defined, and once you start understanding that, and once you start embodying your energy type, that's when you can go into the gates and the channels. I wouldn't recommend going more. Like if you're brand new to human design, just understand your energy type and your authority and your strategy. Those are the 3 main things, because the gates don't work unless those 3 things are in place. Okay, so I just want to touch on what your self-theme is and your not self-theme. I know I'm running over time here, guys, but there's just so much to get through. This is why I'm not doing questions today, because I knew there was going to just be too much information. A manifestor will feel anger when they are in their not self-theme, and peace when they are in their self-theme. So with your not self-theme and your self-theme, you basically need to always try and move into your self-theme. So a generator satisfaction, manifesting generator satisfaction or peace, projector is success, reflector is surprise. And if you're feeling your not self-theme, which is anger, frustration, frustration and anger if you're managing, bitterness or disappointment, you know that you're not in alignment, and you know that you're not following your strategy. Okay, so your strategy as a manifestor is to inform and initiate. As a generator, it is to respond. As a manifesting generator, it is to respond and inform. As a projector, it is to accept the invitation. And as a reflector, it is to wait 28 days, your lunar cycle, to go through all the different emotions and things to understand what is being highlighted, what is not, and then you can make a decision. Okay, so these are the voices, these are the authorities. This is the last piece of the puzzle for understanding the 3 basic things in human design. Now, you will see on your chart that it will tell you what your authority is, okay? Some of them might not be worded exactly like this, so I'll try and go through all of the different names of them. So if your solar plexus is defined, it could also be known as your emotional, an emotional authority, a solar plexus authority. I haven't seen anything else other than those 2. And basically you have the emotional wave, and you need to wait for your emotional wave to ride out. So you're going to feel really good about a thing, then you're going to feel really bad about a thing, then you're going to feel good about it, then you're going to feel bad about it. And you need to wait for a moment of clarity where you know with absolute certainty that that is the right thing to do. I'm like this. So a good example of how my emotional authority has worked for me in the past is that I'm actually going to talk about your story, Kai. So I spoke to Kai in December. I was like, there might be an opportunity for you to come on board in Mind Your Hero, but I need to wait for my emotional authority to ride out its wave before I make any decisions. Then I was like, maybe we can do this right now. No, it's not the right time. Yeah, it's the right. No, it's not the right time. And then there was a moment of absolute clarity and certainty. And I phoned her. I was like, can you start tomorrow? That's literally how it went. It's the same thing when I left my job. I knew I wanted to leave my job by February 2020. And by October 2019, I just knew. And it was almost an out of the blue decision, but I'd been questioning it for so long. And then when the moment came, I was like, okay, I'm resigning tomorrow. And it's because that absolute certainty and clarity had come. So you need to wait for that. Okay. We then have our sacral centers. So we've got pure generators or sacral generators. That's what they're called, or manifesting generators. Only manigens and generators will have this as an authority. And essentially, it's a gut feeling. You will have a full body instant yes or no to something. Like Do I want to have pizza or pasta for dinner? Pasta. Cool. I know that. You can only, it's a binary response. You can only ask it yes, no, either or questions. You cannot go and say, oh, should I like do this for my life's purpose? It won't know the answer to that. It has to have choices or yes and no questions. You can't ask more than that. Your spleen center is this deeply intuitive inner knowing. It's a very subtle whisper, and it will come up once and then it will disappear. You're not going to get it again. So with that, like, you might wake up one morning and just be like, I don't know why, but I know I need to become vegetarian today. Trust it. It's because your body always, like, this is the thing with human design. It teaches us that your body always has the answers. It's never your mind. Even when we get into mental projectors, your mind is not going to make decisions for you. If you can logically explain why you're doing something, it is not the right decision. Have you ever been on the highway and you're like, oh, I just know I need to take this off ramp, and you don't, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much traffic now because I didn't do what I knew I should have. And that's because your body knows the intelligence. Your mind will always try to make it more logical, but if we stay on the highway, it will be that we'll get there quicker. It's not. It's your body knows the answers before things have happened. And we could go into a whole explanation as to why with timelines. But basically, trust your body's instincts, okay? A good question you can also ask yourself if you do have a splenic authority is this decision that I'm making, is this going to be healthy for me? Okay, your heart center. This is where desires will be placed on your heart. And if you have a desire that gets placed on your heart, it's probably meant for you. And your heart center, you can also ask it, do I have the willpower to do this? Yes or no? And that will guide you. But your heart center is also known as your ego authority. It is known as your heart authority. And it really is about the desires that are placed on your heart. If you've got the desire that's placed on your heart, you need to follow it. It's there for a very specific reason. Your G center is also known as your self-projected authority. So it's generally projectors that will have this self-projected authority, or your, I think that's the only way it's really actually labeled. And basically, you need to ask yourself, if I say yes to this, is it taking me to the direction I want to go in life? So you always have to take a moment to visualize where you're going and ask yourself, if you're saying yes to this thing or no to this thing, will it help lead and guide you to that final destination? That's really, really important. Okay. Then you might have a mental, environmental, or none authority. And this is only if you're a projector. So you might have a none authority as well if you're a reflector. But if you're mental, like if you're a projector and it says none, this is what it means. Essentially, you've got your head, your ajna, and maybe your throat defined, one of those three defined. And you need to have a very closely curated circle that you can talk to about your decisions, and that will be reflected back to you. And then you can start to take decisions. So your environment will help you make decisions. And it's kind of the same for the reflector, which is also none or lunar. Your lunar authority is that you have to wait 28 days to make a decision, sometimes even 2 or 3 moon cycles, like for the very big things. And you also have to have your very closely curated circle of trusted friends or family that you can ask things to that will then be reflected back to you. Okay, so that is what I want you to start experimenting with. If you don't know how to experiment with this, we do have a 5-part email series that you can sign up to. Sorry, Kai, I actually didn't send you this link. I knew there was going to be one link that I forgot to send, but it's for free, and each day you'll learn how to embody a little bit more of your design, because that's the thing, you need to practice this. You can't just read a book about this and think that you're going to be a human design whiz. It takes a lot of practice with human design and embodiment. And that's why I love Unleash Your Hero. It doesn't give you all of this information all at once. It kind of breaks it down into chunks so that you can start playing around with your energy type. Then you can start to decondition. Then you can start to do this. Then you can go into your life purpose and understand things at a much greater level once you've started to experiment with all of these things first. Okay. Guys, we're going to be going until like 7:30, and then we'll do questions and answers, or 7:30, whatever time you're in right now. And yeah, I knew this was going to be a bit of an overtime masterclass. It's never an hour. Okay, so this is a connection chart. So a lot of people were asking, like, what happens, like, do certain energy types get along better with other energy types? the truth is that you saw we all have a symbiosis in this lifetime. We all work very, very well together. But yes, you are going to have certain charts that will work better with each other and not well with each other. So this is me and my business chart. Mind your hero is actually a reflector, which is really interesting. And I think it's very true to, the company that we formed. And then when I look at my chart, the biggest themes in my chart is community and to create a community. And that's what I'm really trying to do here with the manifestation community and through our programs and all of those amazing things is that, we've got community. That's what we're here for. So a connection chart will start to show you where you've got compromise channels, dominance channels, companionship channels, electromagnetic channels, and even friendship. Yeah, your companionship channels are also known as your friendship channels. So essentially, you'll start to see, I've got gate 26 in my chart, and Mind Your Hero has gate 44. And because those two kind of join together, that forms an electromagnetic channel. We complete each other with that channel, which is really cool. There will be certain channels though where I will dominate Mind Your Hero, which is the 952. And there will be certain channels where Mind Your Hero will dominate me. And it really starts to show you how you can work together, how we can, again, Lauren did an amazing one with Lloyd and I. And one of the biggest things I took out, and it's something that we already did, is that because we've both got undefined throat centers, we sometimes can't get our voices across or what we want to talk about. And when we ever have had amazing conversations, it's been in restaurants because we can get from other people their energy and express more clearly to one another. And it's just amazing because there's provocative energy in the chart, and you can see where that might start poking fun at you, and how to just handle situations like that. And it's really helped me understand just people in general, especially, I always because I'm a generator, and this is part of my shadow that I've had to work through. I would often look at people that wouldn't have the same amount of energy as me and think that they were lazy. And that is super judgmental and completely not how I view people now. Now I see, I'm like, oh, maybe they're a projector and they don't have the same energy sense as I do. And they actually need to rest and rejuvenate themselves. And I can respect that now. And I can see why certain people are wired, quite literally wired the way that they are. Okay, so this is how we start to look at where energy charts will start to work very well together. By doing a business energy reading chart, I know what we need to do in terms of marketing, how we need to launch, how I need to do, even write copy. I can literally use this chart to show you how to use certain sentences in your copy. It is honestly just amazing, amazing. Okay, we're almost there, guys, because now we're getting to the exciting part where I'm about to announce the winners, and then I'll open up Q&A sessions, but I do respect that people might need to go. So we have created 3 screensavers just for you, depending on your energy type, that you can download from our shop. And it's 22 Rand / $1.44. And in that, you're going to get 3 different screensavers that you can then use to help you embody your design. You're going to have an affirmation that is about your energy type. You're going to have a reframe affirmation to help you move from your not self theme into your self theme. And then we're going to have an affirmation for you to help you understand your purpose for your energy type. Okay, it's not going to go into Incarnation Cross because we can't do 192 times to the power of 5. It just gets ridiculous. And that's where you'd need to have an individual reading. But we've got those 3 screensavers for you. You can go and download the one specifically for your energy type. And we had lots of fun creating them. So thanks to Vix and myself for doing this. It's something that we really enjoyed doing. Then next up, so next week, like I was saying, we are going to have a really amazing masterclass on manifestation and how to understand the mechanics of manifestation. It is going to be a 2-hour masterclass because there is so much information, and it's going to talk to you about everything on a mind, body, soul level and in a way that I can guarantee you that you have never been taught about manifestation ever before. I had this amazing download about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I made sure to write it all down because maybe I should tell, no, I don't think I'm going to tell you my secret just yet, but there's something I'm working on, and this download came at the perfect moment that gave me insights into how to manifest that I've never ever come across in my life before. And I've been studying manifestation since I was like 16. So I'm very, very excited to share that with you. Because you're all in the manifestation community, you get an early bird special for $47 to join this masterclass. It's going to be intense. There's going to be a workbook. It's going to be jam-packed with information. And the normal investment will be $97. So I highly recommend to get onto that train before it goes up by $50. Okay. Are you guys ready for the winners? Drum roll, please. Woohoo! So, our competition winners, to the most engaged person who I know, you've been manifesting this for like 3 whole months. You, Annette, you have done it. You have finally won the most engaged member of our community. I'm so delighted to give you all your prizes, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for always spreading your like beautiful energy. It's so infectious in the best possible way, so thank you. To Samantha van Renen, so happy that you won the prize for inviting the most friends into this group. I really appreciate every single person that's invited, even just one person, or have spoken about it or have gained something from this group, because the only way we can create communities is by inviting and sharing our information with more people. So I'm very, very excited about that. I've got 2 extra prizes because, you know, we can't ever just stop at 2. And today we're also giving a seat to our manifestation masterclass happening next week to 2 people that really just showed up so much for themselves during our 21-day manifestation challenge. So to Pascal and Sarah, you have also won yourself a prize today, which is a seat on our manifestation masterclass next week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. That is the end for now. Whew, guys, that was a lot. I will now be taking all the questions and answering all of your things. I'm sure you guys have questions. I just want to open up the right browser so I can see everything. Yay, I'm so excited that you ladies have won. Yes, okay, so I'm just reading all the comments, but Kai, do you have any questions that the ladies asked that I need to answer? And oh yay, I'm so happy, Sarah. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. But yes, just to recap, whilst questions might be coming through, the most important things for your human design experiment is to play around with your energy, get into understanding your strategy, then move into experimenting with your authority. And once you can really master that, then we can go into centers, gates, and channels and planets. It's a lot of fun to experiment with that stuff, but you will not get the value of it. And even the variables where I can tell you how to, you know, do a morning routine, an evening routine, how to set your diets up, how to eat, how to do all of those things. It's not going to work unless you're already embodying your human design strategy and authority. Okay. So any questions? I'm going to end this recording. No, maybe I'll keep it on because sometimes the questions are really good. And then if you're watching the replay. Okay. Kaylee asked if open center is white with no gates. So an open center, yes, actually technically a completely open center is a white center with no gates. Your undefined center will be white with maybe 1 or 2 gates defined. Okay. I'm so happy we're here. I would love to use this for all my clients that do is with me to help them understand themselves better. To dovetail, how do I go about this? Okay, so Amber, I would highly recommend getting in touch with Lauren because there's something called a wah and a penta. Let me see if I can pull one up for you. Basically, your human design can also show you how dynamics work. Now, I can only show you the penta because I don't have the software for the wah. I just want to see. There we go. I actually do have it. So this is where I am not this level of human design reader. Lauren has, however, done courses on this, and she's really good at this. But basically, this is our penta chart. And this shows our team members. I haven't updated it, but this shows our painter chart, and it will actually start to pull all your different designs together and show you where your team might be lacking in skills, where your team would be strong in skills. And it's a really important thing to do. You know, I always make sure that if Lauren speaks up in our team, I listen to her because she can see where our leaks are. She's our projector. Steph and Kyla are our manifesting generators. They're going to bring the fresh new ideas to us. Vix and I are the generators, so we work really well with like the bigger workloads when it comes to like launch time and stuff. So we work really, really well as a team together. My mom's also money gen, so she brings up like new ideas, and Lloyd's generator for the finance partner. So it really helps us understand things. Please don't ask me to explain this because this is a completely new level. Lauren did try and explain it to me, but I was like, I just want to focus on an individual's chart. So that is something that you can do. And I hope that that helps. But yeah, that is the level of which human design can go into, Amber. It's very, very interesting. Okay. Love that how to use your journal. It was amazing. Yay, I'm so excited. How can I know if I have more manifesting energy or generator energy? Okay, so the fact that you have the 3420 channel and Shantali means that you are more manifesting generator because you have a motor center connected to your throat center. If your throat center, so your motor centers are your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, and your will center. If your throat center is connected to any one of those, you have more manifesting energy. If it is not, then you have more generator energy. Okay, so yeah, it's such a pleasure, Amber. It's such a pleasure. Yeah. We can put Lauren's details in here, but you can also always contact us because Lauren does do chart readings and stuff like that for us. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. And Sam, what's really cool is that I think we actually used to go to school together. I'm pretty sure you had St. Andrews at one point in your life. The name sounds very familiar. Okay. Any other questions, ladies? Any other questions at all? I will explain as much as I possibly can to you guys, and we'll stay here for as long as you need me to. But yeah, human design is honestly, it's just incredible. And you know, if you did join the Vision by Design Masterclass, and even if you have watched it and you didn't know about human design, go back and watch it because you'll probably understand more now why. Yeah. Lauren's ears are definitely ringing. But if you didn't understand human design, go back and watch that masterclass because you'll probably understand it a lot more now. And in there, we talk a lot more about, you know, how to use the chart to understand if you're a specific or a non-specific manifestor, what your different strategies would be in terms of creating a vision board in accordance to your energy type. So it becomes really, really interesting to understand it in that way. Thank you. Yay, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you've enjoyed this training. Who else loved this training? I definitely want to create a course, like a free course. I know I'm going to go crazy with all the beautiful content. But yeah, okay, cool. Thanks, Kai. I think I've answered that for Amber. Amber, let me know if you do have any more information on that or question, like, yeah, if you need me to give you any more information on that. Fascinating, love it. Amazing, I'm so glad. I love the training, but I'm always still lost. Okay, so Chrissy, what are you lost with? So I know because you shared your chart in the group, I think it's that you're a mental projector. And again, for you, because you are a projector, sometimes this can be very overwhelming. So let me know where you're lost, and I'll definitely try and help you right now to start at a starting point. Okay. I stumbled on this through Veronique, and my life has changed so much in all I've manifested, and everything is falling into place. Can't believe how this falls together. Yep. So V and I, obviously, our brands are very closely related. If you're joining any of these challenges this year, so V is a health and fitness coach. Highly recommend you join her if you want to get your booty all spiffy and stuff. And I do mindset chats in her groups every week, so it's really, really cool. Okay. Yay, so glad you loved it. It's a pleasure, Kaz. Have a beautiful evening. Is it weird that I'm understanding my mom's energy more than my own right now? No, that's not weird at all. I understand all of my clients' charts way more than my own. And I even said, so Lauren and I did a course like 2 Fridays ago. She's like, Kai, it ends tonight. You have to do it. And my defined route was like, yay, okay, pressure, let's do this. So I managed to do an entire human design course in a day. And essentially that course forced me to sit with my chart open and go through every element of my chart on a level that I'd never done before. And I was like, oh my gosh, I understand so much more about myself right now because I've never actually done this for myself. So it's easier to see others' energy. It's so much easier to see others' energy, to understand other people's charts, because again, it takes a lot more to reflect in on ourselves. Okay. I think I'd have to explain what yes is better for an answer. Yes, I don't know what SEIO is. If you even just like let me know what the abbreviation term is, that would be amazing. Okay, feeling mind blown and rather overwhelmed. I need some time to sort all through this. Yeah, so Jane, just take it slowly. Like I said, I know that this can be a lot of information, and sure, we could go into a lot more layers. And that's why I love Anisha Hero, because in Anisha Hero, we break it down a lot more simply, a lot more calmly. It was a lot of information tonight. So don't panic if you're feeling overwhelmed. It's completely normal. It's completely normal. Just focus on your energy type to start off with. Once you're getting a little bit more comfortable with that, understand your strategy more, then move into your authority. Then once you've got that mastered, then you can move into the centers and the gates and all of that. Okay. Pronounce Sikio. Okay, I've never heard of that. So thank you, Jane. Yeah. She's a projector and she volunteers at the SPCA. The way she gets them to do stuff is hilarious. They don't even know. Yep. Projector energy, guiding and leading. Guiding and leading. Okay. Also, if you guys do want to have a human design reading, obviously you can approach the Mind You Hero team. We've got a couple of different ones available for you. I do have a special running on my breakthrough intensives. Oh wow, scientific conscious interface operations. Okay, yeah, I think that sounds like human design to me for the first time. So I definitely need to understand that a bit more, but I'll definitely go do some research into it. What was I going to say? Sorry, I lost my train of thoughts. Yeah, if you want to have a human design reading, approach us. We can point you in the right direction. I've currently got a special running on my breakthrough sessions. They are intensive. They are 2.5 hours long. We go through your human design. We go through your gene keys. I help you reprogram your subconscious mind. And then there's 3 different kind of categories you can we can kind of go into. One is just your general life purpose. One is business. So if it's a business chart, then we actually go into your strategy, how you should be using different ways to launch, things like that. And then health. So if you want to know more about your health, we can go into that as well and go through the different centers and explain where certain conditions may be coming from and how to heal them on a metaphysical level. And that's when I include my meta medicine certifications. Okay. Frequency and energy heat. Oh, that's amazing. That is very, very cool. That is very cool, Amber. Definitely going to go look into that. I'm always super excited to learn more about like energy healing and frequency and all of those things. Obviously, it's like part and parcel of all of the stuff. Okay. Ladies, thank you so much if you are still here. I have spoken for a very long time now. Thank you for your energy tonight. I'm so excited to give all the winners their prizes. So thank you for showing up, for your energy and everything. And okay, so my chart properties are pretty accurate. I'm going to watch the replay and see if I can understand it a bit more. I think understanding the body graph is what I'm stuck on. Okay, so understanding the body graph. So the body graph, don't worry about that yet. It's a lot of information. Again, just focus on your energy type and then your authority. And then once you start to understand that, that's when you can start to unlock a little bit more. So what I would always do is then recommend, like, going into your centers, start with the head center. Is it defined or is it undefined? Okay, it's colored in. That means it's defined, which means I have consistent access to the properties, which means you'll probably have consistent access to inspiration. Fun fact, if you have a defined head center and you try and meditate sitting up or like standing or anything with the upright position, you probably won't be able to do it because you've got a consistent access to the neutrino stream. So if you have a defined head center, lie down and meditate. That's a good piece of advice there. And there's like lots of things about all the different centers. Okay. Just in time for all my batteries are dying. Oh, shame. Yeah, load shedding in South Africa. It sucks. It sucks. Thanks, Kai. Looking forward to learning more. Pleasure, 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 pleasure. Okay, ladies, I think I've answered all the questions. Thank you so much for your light and your love and your energy. And I will hopefully see some of you in our next masterclass, which is going to be very intense, but very easy to understand, and can't wait to go into it. Have a beautiful evening, everyone. Bye.